Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman. As promised, I am bringing you some new content, some new readings. This has been requested over and over again. I did see who had requested this, and so I am doing a psychic reading on Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen. I don't know how to pronounce her last name, but I'm going to be giving you the tea from Spirit, exactly what I see here, etc. And for those of you that don't know, he was a musician, a performer, singer. You know, he was in that industry. Nancy, she was just like someone that was a lost soul, really trying to kind of like find some type of fame or some type of spotlight by hanging with musicians and wanting to be kind of like taken care of, kind of like, what's the word I'm looking for? Pampered, being someone that is taken care of. When I get into their relationship completely, it was a very volatile relationship. Nancy is a very darker soul. She was crazy, and there's no other way than putting it. Her soul was someone that, that didn't give a shit about anyone. That's how it's coming through from Spirit. I'm not connecting to their souls because I don't feel like they are wanting to come through, but I'm rather using my spirit guides and angels to give me the information on what I get. But she had a very piss poor attitude. Didn't care about anyone, couldn't care less if somebody dropped dead. She had no heart. I feel like she was insensitive, very much operating out of like a sailor mouth. She had a very, very bad energy following her, and she didn't care what people thought about her. She was going to do her thing. I feel like she may have had AIDS or contracted that as well. And this may have been unknown. I feel like she didn't take care of herself. There would have been sexually transmitted diseases and other things that she would have acquired throughout her artistry, because a lot of people may not know she was a prostitute. She was a stripper. She was in... and she had various sex partners, so she was very much out there, very wild, very fast life. But again, all of this is stemming from her mind, her mentality. She does have, they classified her as schizophrenic or bipolar, I don't remember which, but she definitely had the mind of a psychopath, basically. She didn't care less, and she could get very violent. It's almost like a little kid throwing a tantrum in public. That's how I would see her. I'm seeing visions of what she would do. Basically, just yell, scream, and, throw tantrums. That's how she was. People didn't like her. Like people that were friends with Sid, which he's not any better either. His energy is foul. They're both very low vibration individuals and very much on a downward spiral. I feel like they both had drug problems as well, and so it's no surprise that they both shared drugs and lived in that moment. This was a moment where I feel like they were both trying to find an escapism. For her, she realizes that there was a lot of failure in her life, and that really and truly she wasn't going to reach the level of success that, she had been told this by her own family and other people, other people that knew her, friends that she had fallen out with, that basically she wouldn't amount to anything. And that's basically what happened here. I feel like she was, the drugs did a certain thing to both of them. It screwed them up in the head a little bit, a whole lot. And for her, it became very much like, going out at night, sleeping through the day, partying, all through the wee hours of the night, using substances. You talk about substances, it was probably about every substance that you can imagine. And a lot of people have asked, what happened, because apparently they were in the Chelsea Hotel in New York City, I believe, and they found her dead. From a stab wound to the abdominal area, and they it was supposedly Sid Vicious was there. He woke up, he found her dead, and they tied him initially to her murder and said that he had done it, which was a lie and untrue. He didn't kill her. A lot of people think that, have had another theory going out that Nancy was murdered by a drug dealer who they owed money or whatever, and he had come back in. What I see is that they definitely were very messed up in the head. And for her, I feel like it was a suicide attempt. And what I see is her getting the knife and basically doing it herself in a way where it looked possibly like suspicious, but she did it. I see her doing it. I don't see foul play in this or people wanting to take them out. I definitely see that she did it, and she didn't care. Like, this was her exit point. Like, someone that is suicidal, you can't stop them. They've had enough. She wasn't loved by anyone. She knew that people didn't like her. She wasn't oblivious to that, even in her sober state, which was very rare. She knew that people did not like her and that she had a reputation, and she would never make it in any kind of industry that she'd go in. She would have to go for like a regular job, etc. And for her, I don't feel like she wanted to work in a regular job. She was after fast money to do drugs, to basically not have to report to anyone or owe anyone any explanations. And so when she met Sid, I feel like it was a symbiotic type of parasitic relationship. They both needed each other in a certain way. There was sex exchange, energy exchange. Both of them were energy vampires, very dark energies. He was very sickly. I feel like he wasn't like sickly. I mean, like, he had health conditions. Supposedly he had hepatitis as well. So like, I feel like he had other conditions as well. Like, he could have also had AIDS. And again, these are probably things that they were not tested for or it wasn't known, but this is what I'm getting. I feel like he was very sickly. He didn't hardly eat. It was sometimes he would vomit. Just not taking good care of himself. You could tell by the body of his frame he was very emaciated from the drugs, from all the crap that he put in himself. There was a love and hate relationship with both of them. He was not faithful to her. She was not faithful to him. But at the end, they were like Bonnie and Clyde in some kind of way. Like, they had this kind of like true love that it was like, to them in their mind it was a soulmate union, but for me I feel like this is not even like a soulmate union. Like, this was just two people that are very dark souls that had a very dark vibration, a very low vibration, that felt that mutual symbiotic or parasitic attraction to each other, and ultimately led to her committing suicide to end it. And I feel like Sid was very much the coward, and he would have done it like her. She wanted to go out quickly without any kind of suffering, so she chose the route of getting the knife and stabbing herself, basically committing suicide. For Sid, it was like a depression, and eventually to numb the pain. I feel like he couldn't deal. Like, he honestly, I don't feel like he really knew if he had killed her or not. He didn't know, and he maybe thought for a while that he had done this himself, and so he kind of felt guilty, and he had all these other thoughts. And plus, the addictions, they never went away. They never go away for a lot of people like them. When you're in a low vibration and then you're surrounded by other people that are doing drugs, he came out of this facility, out of that system, and then he died that evening. Supposedly somebody brought him, a photographer, someone brought him some drugs, he overdosed, blah blah blah. But the whole situation is that I feel like he never truly changed, even in that system. It's so easy to gravitate towards bad vices like that. And so I get a lot of betrayal here among Sid and Nancy themselves, and people that knew them, they did not like both of them. They were like considered troublemakers, and so there was a couple of people that tolerated them, but for the most part, it was more for the partying and having a good time. Nothing really serious. I don't see like they established like real, true, loyal friendships. That was not there. It was more like acquaintances and just people that they knew. There was something also like between both of them. I don't know if this is known or not known, that they wanted to move away from New York, like, or away from wherever they were living at the moment. And I keep feeling like it was a pull towards overseas, like back to Europe. I don't know what was the thing there, like if there was a trip that Sid had, or there was some kind of thinking of moving. I don't know, but I keep feeling like there was something there connected that he was wanting to move away, and there was another woman that he would have already had feelings for, etc., and it wasn't Nancy. So again, part of this whole thing about her doing this was kind of like to blackmail him in many ways. I feel like in her mind, she thought, this was an exit point, but she would be okay, that people would save her in some kind of way. Like, she had all these kind of thoughts when when I communicate with my spirit guides. That's why it's coming in kind of like it's very jumbled, because I don't want to connect to her soul particularly, in particular, because of their vibration, etc. So I'm bringing this in, but in her mind, it was kind of like discombobulated, and there was like so many thoughts and things. She could not move forward. She was very stuck. She loved Sid, but it was very much like I said, a love and hate relationship. She did not want. I also feel like she would have had a miscarriage as well. She did not. She wanted to have kids eventually, but all her dreams, that she would have had, and the way that she would have gone about doing this, was just wrong on so many levels. For her, I also feel like, and I pick up conversations, things like they would have had discussions about killing someone, or committing like a robbery of some sort. They were in that kind of mind frame of like Bonnie and Clyde, kind of like that, very much like thinking of a way to create this media press or frenzy to gain attention, and go down in history as someone known, really known and appreciated. But they didn't, and all the plans that they had fell through, and his life was derailed after her passing. I feel like he later did recognize that he didn't kill her, but still he was not in a good place. And with that addiction, again, he thought that perhaps that he was going to be able to be in control of it and nothing would happen, but his body was already sickly. He would not have survived this overdose. So it's basically these two people that did this to each other. It wasn't other people. I don't see that. And people want to blame, well, somebody brought him drugs, etc., but no one forced them to take it. No one forced her to take the knife and stab herself. They did that themselves. And so I feel like this was like their way of being together in the afterlife. And whether or not they have changed, I feel like there are still difficulties, and them trying to still process it on the other side. I do feel like they're no longer earthbound. They would have crossed over, but their souls, I feel like, are still in like a in a kind of like in a way, or in a, how should I say it, in a state of transition where they have not yet ascended to a higher level. I feel like they are in a very low level in the spirit world, in that vibration. Sometimes they do come out of there, and I don't know if people have seen Nancy at this hotel where she was murdered, but she does roam around there, or in that area, whatever's there now. I'm not familiar with the territory, but she is still sometimes connected to that room and that location, whatever is there now, that location. And then for him, I feel like he has been seen by friends that were close to him that night, which weren't really like friends, just like acquaintances, but they are so still trying to ascend, and understand all of this. Even though it's been years, you would think they already had processed this, but like I said, these were very dark souls. And so for them, even though some dark souls do ascend to a higher level, and I don't feel like these two are going to reincarnate at all. And it's so eerie, because she looks a lot like Courtney Love. When I see her, she looks exactly like Courtney Love, or I see resemblances. I don't know if it's just me. Maybe you guys see that. If you do, comment in the comment section below. But this is the psychic reading on Sid Vicious and Nancy Spungen, or Spungens, Spungen, however you say her last name. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If you did, please hit the like button. Please share. Blessings and love and light. Have an amazing, amazing day or night wherever you are in the world.